When you start a new task or a new idea, it is easy to feel excited. You think optimistically, you think about the possibilities, you think about the good things that can come from it. You imagine the result, you imagine the better version of your life that could exist if these things actually work. And because the future still feels clean, taking action feels easier. You do something, you make progress, even if it is small, it feels like movement. But then life happens. Something ordinary happens or something extraordinary happens. You get busy, you get tired, you get sick, family problems come up, work becomes overwhelming. Your routine breaks, your energy drops, your attention goes somewhere else, and the task gets derailed. You leave it behind. At first, maybe it is only one day, then a few days, then a week, and then longer. And slowly, a small delay turns into a large one. And then one day, you think about restarting. And suddenly, the task does not feel the same anymore. It does not feel exciting. It does not feel clean. It feels heavy. Because now the task is not just a task. Now it has emotional weight attached to it. It carries the memory that you stopped. It carries the pressure of where you thought you would be by now. It carries the disappointment that the original plan did not continue the way you imagined. And that is why starting again feels so much harder than starting for the first time. Because the first start is about possibility. Restarting is about returning to something that now has history. And that history eats at you. You start thinking, I was supposed to be farther by now. I should have been more consistent. I'm not disciplined. I'm not strong willed. Something is wrong with me. And once these thoughts begin, they can crush you before you even touch the task. The task itself might not even be that hard. It might only take 10 minutes. It might only require opening a document or clearing one small space or doing one workout or even sending one message. But emotionally, it feels much bigger. It feels suffocating. It feels stressful. Sometimes it almost feels like anxiety because you are not just reconnecting with the task, you are reconnecting with the version of yourself that stopped. And that can feel scary. That is the part most people miss. You think you're avoiding the work, but a lot of the time you're avoiding the feeling attached to returning. You're avoiding the guilt, you're avoiding the comparison, you're avoiding the pressure. You are avoiding the uncomfortable moment where you have to admit, I stopped. Because that feeling is uncomfortable, you delay again. You tell yourself, I'll restart tomorrow. But tomorrow comes and the task feels even heavier because now there is one more day of distance, one more day of guilt, one more day of thinking about it instead of doing it. And over time, the task becomes larger inside your mind than it actually is in real life. That is how small restart turns into a wall, not because the task changed, but because the meaning attached to the task has changed. Before, it meant hope. Now, it feels like judgment. Before, it meant progress. Now, it feels like the proof that you failed. And when something starts to feel like the proof of failure, your brain does not want to touch it. It wants to avoid it. That is why you want to restart and still not restart. Because logically, you know what to do. But emotionally, the return feels expensive. And then you make it worse by trying to compensate. This is one of the biggest traps. You fall off for a few days and then you think, now I need to make up for it. You miss a week and you think, now I need to do a huge reset. Stop working on something for a month and you think, now I need to come back perfectly. And it sounds responsible, it sounds like discipline, but most of the time, it is just punishment disguised as productivity. You're not reconnecting. You are trying to repay a debt. You are trying to punish yourself back into consistency. You are trying to erase the shame of stopping by doing something extreme. But that makes the restart even heavier because now the first step is not one small action. Now the first step is a whole comeback. A comeback is intimidating. A comeback has pressure. A comeback has expectation. and comeback makes you feel like you need to prove something. So instead of making the restart easier, compensation makes it harder. You tell yourself, I need to clean the entire room. I need to work for 3 hours. I need to catch up on everything. I need to fix my whole routine. I need to get fully back on track today. And then your brain looks at that and says, no, that is too much. So you avoid it again. And the cycle continues. You feel guilty because you stop. And then you make the restart bigger to compensate. Then the restart feels overwhelming. So you delay. Then the guilt grows. Then the restart gets even bigger. This is how people stay stuck, not because they cannot take action, but because they keep turning the restart into repayment. If you're enjoying the video so far, let me quickly introduce myself. Hi, my name is Afnan. I'm from a computer science background and I spend a lot of time thinking about systems, how they work and how they actually produce results. I'm starting this channel to share those ideas and break them down in a simple, practical way. If that sounds interesting to you and you want to follow along the journey, consider subscribing. It really helps support the channel. Please like and subscribe. That is why the answer is not to compensate. The answer is to reconnect. Don't compensate, reconnect. That is the whole idea. When you're trying to start again, your job is not to make up for everything you missed. Your job is to touch the system again, to make contact again, to lower the emotional cost of returning. Because once you reconnect, the task becomes real again. It stops being this giant emotional cloud in your head. It becomes a thing you can actually move. And the first step back should be small enough that it does not trigger the whole guilt spiral. If you stopped writing, do not start by demanding a full page. Open the document, write one sentence. If you stopped working out, do not start by demanding a perfect workout. Put on the shoes. Walk for 5 minutes. If you stopped cleaning, do not start by demanding a clear one surface. Pick up one thing. If you stopped working on your side project, do not start by demanding a full plan. Write down the next tiny decision. The goal is not to fix the whole thing in one move. The goal is to break the distance. This is it. Because distance is what makes the task feels really scary. The longer you stay away from something, the more your brain fills the gap with noise. What could have been, where I should be, how much time I wasted, how far behind I am, what this says about me. If you keep listening to that noise, satisfaction and happiness will always feel out of reach because you are comparing the present to an imaginary timeline. You are comparing where you are now to where you think you should have been. And that comparison will steal the joy from any progress you make. Because even if you do something today, your brain will say, yeah, but you should have done this weeks ago. This is a trap. You cannot build momentum while constantly measuring yourself against the version of your life that did not happen. That timeline is gone. You cannot act inside it anymore. You can only act here, now, with what is in front of you. So put the blinder on. Forget the noise. Not forever, not because the reflection is useless, but in the moment of restarting, the noise is not helping you. The comparison is not helping you. The guilt is not helping you. The fantasy version of where you should have been is not helping you. What helps is the next step, only the next step. That is the level where restarting becomes possible again. Not the whole project, not the whole habit, not the whole identity, just the next step. And this is important because confidence does not come from avoiding the task. Self esteem does not come from thinking about what you should have done. Self fulfillment does not come from waiting until you feel ready. Those things come from evidence, small evidence. You take one small action and you prove, I can still return. You take another small action and you prove, I am not gone. You take another one and you prove this is still available to me. That is how self trust comes back, not all at once, not through some drastic reset, not through punishing yourself, but through small, repeated proof. And once you understand that, falling off becomes less dangerous because the goal is not to become someone who never stops. Life does not work that way. You will get tired and you will get distracted. You will have bad weeks. Unexpected things will happen. Your routine will break. That does not mean the whole thing is over. The real skill is not perfect consistency. The real skill is knowing how to return. Because if you know how to return and you missed a day, that is just a missed day. A bad week is just a bad week. A delay is just a delay. It does not have to become an identity. It does not have to become a story about how you always fail. It does not have to become a proof that something is wrong with you. It can just be a pause. And after a pause, you reconnect. That is the system. So the next time you are trying to start again, do not ask, how do I catch up? That question is too heavy. Do not ask, how do I make up for everything I missed? That will turn the restart into a punishment. Ask this, what is the smallest way I can reconnect to the task? That is the question. What is the smallest point of contact? What is one action that brings me back into relationship with this thing? Can I open the file? Can I write one line? Can I walk for 1 minute? Can I clean one item? Can I send one message? Can I review one note? Can I put the notebook on the desk? Can I do the smallest version of the return? Because once you do that, the emotional weight starts to shift. Listen, you are no longer just thinking about the task. You are touching it. You are moving it. You are proving that return is possible. And that proof matters. So if you have fallen off, do not turn the restart into a trial. Do not make today responsible for the entire past. Do not try to pay off all the lost time in one move. That will only make the door heavier. Just open the door. 1 inch. That is enough. You take the smallest step. Forget the noise. Put the blinder on. Do not compensate. Reconnect. Because once you reconnect, momentum has somewhere to begin again.